I'm Rylee Turley. The year I graduated was 2021. This is my grandma.
And all three of my grandchildren graduated from LPO. And I truly believe in my heart that none of them would have finished. And I'm very close to my family. And that's how they always felt at LPO. And I think that's a big part of the success. When I thought about all this and why it was so good, it is how closeness to the staff and how much they felt like family there. But the building is part of it because it felt like their home and their place where they could feel comfortable like you do when you go home. And so the kids, sure they came home mad sometimes, but not very often. And I believe their success had a lot to do with where they went to school, building and people. And I'm very thankful for them.
It wasn't until the end of elementary school I started to necessarily, not academic-wise, like grades failing, but more missing some more school and just stuff like that because of stuff that was going on at home. My mother started getting in trouble with the law. Word got around and people started not being my friends just because of what other people have done. By the time I got to middle school, I felt like I ended up getting a concussion early that school year. And it took me out for a few months. I wasn't at school. And by the time I had gotten back, I started having other medical issues. I had to have a gallbladder surgery. I had to have my gallbladder removed. And by the time I was coming back from that, we were trying to figure out what was best to get me back into school, what we could do to get my academics up again and just to see me thrive. We get a hold of Sandpoint Middle School and they had unenrolled me without even calling my family or sending home a letter. I had an interview with Jeff, who was the current principal when I was there. We had talked, I had my interview, and he told me, you have to put in the work, you have to show up. Going into LPO and having the people there was, if I didn't have those people, I don't think I would have graduated. The staff, everybody was so amazing the whole time. Even if you had a bad attitude, they still looked at you and being like, hey, try to do their best to navigate away from the bad feelings. When I was a sophomore, my cousin had passed away. He was a graduate of LPO. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. Tommie was an amazing person. If you got to meet him, I would say that you would love him.
Everybody liked Tommie.
When he passed away, I remember being in Randy's class. And I remember Jeff came up. He's like, hey, you got to come down. And I knew right then because they didn't send somebody up to come and get you. My brother and my dad were there. They were, obviously crying. And I remember walking out of the building and them telling me. And I just remember screaming. And after that, we left for a little bit. All my friends found out. Everybody called us back to the school. We all met at Hickory Park, and the amount of outpour from the community the first day, I would say, is... I don't have words for how incredible these students were. They were more than friends. They were family. Everybody who knew Tommie, they were heartbroken just as much as we were. The amount of people and the support that we had following Tommie's passing. If it wasn't for the school, they did a fundraiser for him. We had a whole food banquet that the Hoot Owl helped us host. And, we got the community's help with Tommie's passing. And if it wasn't for LPO helping us do that, we wouldn't have been able to do some of the things with him passing away at his celebration of life and some other things. LPO's support during that time, my brother had dropped out of high school, and during that time, the support that we got from the school, he was able to come back and finish high school. With the circumstances of our cousin passing away. if it wasn't for, like I said, the staff and just the community of them being where they are, it wouldn't have worked. We couldn't be closer to the high school because we don't feel comfortable being at the high school or closer to the middle school. We didn't feel like we belonged. Being at LPO, being where it's at, it's where it belongs. If we didn't have that space to go to after my cousin passed away, going to the park and having that area, I don't know where we would have just cried in a parking lot. I don't know.
I never went to that building or in that room that I wasn't treated like I was family. Sometimes I went there, whether it was because the kids were in trouble or because they'd done well. I never knew exactly why I was called in, but never once wasn't I greeted. I'm still friends with many of the people that went there, and it's like she said, it's a family. And that building has a lot to do with it. It does. I couldn't walk in there today and not feel like I was home. And you know how much better home feels than somebody else's house. And that's what that school is.
Yeah.